Hi, Michael.
Hello, Irene. First of all, I have to say it's a great pleasure having you on the show, Irene.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Even more so that it's your big comeback, if I could use the term, of course.
Yeah, I guess you can. Why not, really? It is a sort of a comeback. I haven't done anything in the past 12 years or so, and besides, obviously, the theatre equation. And I'm here now, so yeah.
So, first and foremost, how are you? How's everything over in Holland for you?
Everything's absolutely fine, actually, just really busy. So it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and looking massively forward to it, though. So, yeah, everything's fine, thanks.
Amazing. First of all, I'd like to state here that I'm delighted to have you because the first time I actually heard you was on Gary Hughes' Once a Future King album, where I was left astounded with your performance. You were absolutely amazing, and then I just went back and listened to your work with Ayreon and such. So it was amazing, and that's why one of the reasons I'm so glad you're back, because I kind of felt that all this vocal prowess of yours would be such a waste not to be taken advantage of in a musical project.
Well, thank you. Those are very nice, kind words. Thank you very much. Now I am indeed sort of back, and the only reason that happened is because I was asked. I made no decision to come back myself, but then I was asked, and after quite some doubting and saying no at first, I ended up saying yes to the project of Alarion.
Can you tell us a few words about it and how you came to get involved with it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, the mastermind behind it all, Bas Willemse, he's a Dutch man, and he asked me. And I said no at first because I had just become a first-time mommy when he asked, and my head was simply not in the right place at all. And I said it had nothing to do with his music. It was just my head was on the right place. And he tried again, though, months later. He had gotten Damian Wilson to do the larger part of the album and asked me if that changed anything. Now, that was a good move for him, as it turns out, because I did indeed reconsider and said yes, not just because of Damian, but especially because I was just more ready at that moment in time to take something new on. And I said yes eventually, so kudos for him for pursuing it.
Now, what can you tell us about your input to the final result? I think you're singing on 2 tracks, aren't you?
Yes, I sing 2 tracks. I sing an acoustic version of the same track. So basically, there's an electric version of the song. It's called Turn of Fate. And he composed an acoustic version of the same song, which is very special and beautiful because it really brings forward the different aspects of my voice. And Bas wrote everything. So when it comes to my involvement and my input into the final result, I give him massive props for all his creativity. I merely sang the lines he wanted me to. Of course, I did give some input on some harmonies as we recorded and gave my own sound to the songs. But in essence, it is all Bas.
It is so amazing, though. I was actually thinking while listening to some of the tracks that were posted online and such, especially yours, where you actually talk about them. I think there was a video on YouTube, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was actually listening to your voice, and I was actually thinking, you can actually sing just about everything.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. Well, I try. I wouldn't say everything, but I think my voice is definitely varied. Yes.
You've also been announced as the half of the vocal front of Alarion.
Yep.
Will this collaboration extend to more live dates?
Well, no other performances have yet been scheduled. I'm not actually a member or anything of the band. I am truly a guest performer. So for the live performance, I cover songs that are done by Damian Wilson on the album. And there are no plans now for future performances, and take it from there, really.
Right. How has the reception been like so far?
Fantastic, unbelievable, actually, much better than I could have ever wanted, and everybody's really impressed with the album itself and the diversity of it, and with my performance as well, so that's nice. It's been received really well.
It's such a great comeback indeed. You've got 2 out of 2, though. I have to commend you on that, though. It's Ayreon and this, and it's a pretty similar style too, in a sense. So I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah, it is in that corner, really. Yeah.
By the way, I hope you realize, Erin, that you've made a name of yourself despite the few project appearances and live appearances too, right? Which is quite impressive in itself.
Yeah, I know, and that really surprises me as well. I have to say that I'm really, really grateful for the huge, for the loyalty, really, of the fans. They stick with you, even if you sort of disappear off the face of the earth for 12 years. When you come back, they're right there, and they're enthusiastic. And I have to say that is just fantastic. That gives you a very, very warm feeling inside. So it is really a big thank you to all the fans.
Okay, Irene, I think it's time to hear a song from the brand new Alarion album. What have you got for us?
All right, next up, please listen to Alarion. The album is called Waves of Destruction. The song, Turn of Fate.
This was the excellent Turn of Fate by Alarion, featuring, of course, Irene Jansen from Ayreon, Gorissen, and more recently, Alarion. Here with me is Irene Jansen talking about all her very recent project and live appearances too. Apart from your participation on the aforementioned albums and such, we haven't heard much from you though, and up until recently, that is. How come you stayed out of the spotlight for such a long time?
Well, actually, I chose at some point, actually well before I did the human equation with Ayreon, I made a very conscious decision to not become, as far as you can, make a decision to become a professional musician. I chose to not become a professional musician, which had mostly to do with, not that I don't enjoy singing, but there's so much other potential that I hadn't discovered about myself, and I wanted to study. So I went ahead and studied English at the university, which had my preference at the time, and it was simply just not possible to combine my studies with being a professional musician. I really sort of had to choose to do one or the other, and I thought, well, I can do studying, I can do that now, and I can always sing later. So that was my very conscious decision to just go and study. And obviously, doing the human equation was simply studio work. So I could do that at the same time as studying, and it was only a very short thing that I had to do anyway. You go into the studio for a few days, and you can combine that quite easily. But really have a band and try and make something of yourself and perform here and there and tour and do albums, that was just far too much to combine with that. So it was it was a decision I made, and I'm still quite happy I did it like that.
Right. Shall we begin with Ayreon, though, and the theatre equation? Because can you tell us a bit about your involvement on this project of
Yes, of course. I was asked from the get-go when they started forming the idea of doing a theatre show based on the human equation. I was asked from the get-go to do my role of Passion, and I instantly said yes, of course. Nerves and the realisation of the scale of this project came later, but I instantly said yes.
Right. How did it feel revisiting this past work of yours for a live performance of such a scale?
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. It's such a great piece of musical work by Arjen Lucassen. And what a great cast, and what a great band and choir. It was just mind-blowingly great.
Yeah, and it's not very common nowadays, for projects of such a scale to be brought to the stage, which makes it even more amazing.
It was so special, especially because Arjen doesn't do anything live, really. He doesn't perform live, almost never anyway. Yeah. And to really be part of this very special, once-in-a-lifetime situation was unique and fantastic. And
I saw a couple of videos on YouTube too, and the fans seemed rabid, if I could use the term, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The fans were so fantastic. Everybody was unbelievably impressed with what we've done, and that is so grateful. You put in the effort and you do the best you can, and you try to give like a performance of a lifetime, and to get that sort of feedback is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the word majestic is pretty small to describe the whole thing.
I think so too, actually. That's not talking about myself, but just the project in his entirety was just so huge and impressive. And the stage alone, having more than one level, even there were 3 levels and stairs, and there was a car on stage even. I mean, it doesn't really get much bigger than that, I think.
Yeah. Generally, how did it feel for you getting back to the fold in this grand way? Can you tell us your feelings right before you entered the stage?
Amazing, actually. I thought I was going to be more nervous than I actually was. But because I had a really clear role to act out and there was a script to follow, I didn't really have to come up with what to do all by myself. So, of course, I was nervous and I wanted to do a really good job. But all in all, it was just a fantastic experience, especially working with all these great other musicians and artists. It's inspiring.
Yeah. So, Irene, generally, how differently do you approach a vocal performance now compared to the past? Because, it's been quite some time.
Yeah. Not. To be honest, there's not really a big difference. I try to be warmed up before I start singing. But I don't really approach it very differently. I don't sort of, only drink tea and honey for days and try not to speak or anything. But luckily, my voice is not very spoilt. I haven't really pampered it at all. And therefore, I can sort of do what I do as long as I warm up properly before I start singing. There's not a lot of prepping required here, luckily.
Now, you very much connected your name with rock opera projects like, Once Future King or Ayreon. Should we expect to see you in more projects like this in the future?
I have no idea, honestly. I'm not actively pursuing a full-time or otherwise part-time musical career at all. I do not see myself joining a band at any time soon, though, given the fact that I have a lovely family and an almost full-time job. So also, like I said before, I deliberately chose not to be a musician for a living, and I stand by that choice today. This does not mean, however, that I'll, not do anything ever. If I'm asked and I like it, who knows?
Sure.
So, especially studio work. I love doing studio work. So anything that comes my way that way, if I can be involved and I like it and it's cool, then I'll consider it for sure. But actually joining a band and doing all that and being on the road and therefore being away from my family, that is just not for me.
Yeah.
It's not the life that I like to lead, that I'd like to lead.
Yeah, which actually, brings me back to a thought that I had a couple of days ago. When it comes to most bands nowadays, because the business itself has become so difficult by itself.
Yeah.
I see many bands who have no label backing, as it used to be back in the 80s, for example, or for what it is for the bigger bands of the genre, if I could use the term. Most bands are turning towards a studio situation for them because it's easier in order to be able to hold their day jobs too.
Yeah.
Which actually pretty much makes sense.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it's much more low budget, more control. It does also mean a hell of a lot more work for the people involved.
Yeah, that's true. Because you have to manage just about everything by yourself.
By yourself. Yeah, I've seen Boss do it now. He did the same thing. He does have a label now, though. But the whole thing from the start for Alarion, he wrote everything. He did the studio work. He did everything by himself. He managed everything by himself. And that is a lot of work to take on. He has a full-time job as well, I think, and a new family as well. So, that's quite the effort that you have to put in. You really have to really want it to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, it actually makes perfect sense.
Now, another thing I was actually wondering was that seeing as you've mainly focused on what is commonly called progressive metal in one way or another, and if we take into consideration the fact that you're such a multi-layered singer yourself, which style would you like to explore and you haven't had the opportunity to do so?
What I really enjoy doing is some more, more 80s rock type of thing, like, well, everybody knows Heart, right? I enjoy that just for the fun of it. I can do that. But I also just enjoy singing bluesy songs, for example. That really fits my voice as well. Far more laid back. Yeah. I enjoy doing that. It doesn't mean that I would actually record something per se, but if I were asked, I would definitely jump on that.
Who would you cite as your main influences when you first started out singing, Irene?
Oh, that's a good question. Loads of singers, I have to be honest, really loads. It varies from Celine Dion, and the only reason I loved singing to her songs is because when I started singing, when I was really young, I was a child. My goal was to be able to sing everything that she did and hit every note that she hit. And after a bit of practice, I managed to do that. But I think it was 14 or 15 at the time. I managed to do that, and that really gave me a lot of really good practice. But I also listened to The Offspring, and I listened to. Roxette, for example. Listened a lot of Roxette when I was really young, and later on that became much more varied, and it became much more not really varied actually. It turned into listening to more rock music rather than anything else. And now lately I'm listening to all sorts, and I love, for example, Adele. I love Adele.
True.
I think that's just the atmosphere that she puts in her songs is just simply amazing. It's I wouldn't say there's one or two people per se, and actually, without lying, my sister is a very big influence because, well, I'm not exaggerating when I say her voice is amazing, and I was always because she's my older sister, she's 2.5 years my senior, and I've always been inspired with what she's able to do, and I thought, well, she can do it, why wouldn't I be able to? That's what younger sisters do, don't they?
Always. Amazing. Now, what are your future plans, Irene? Apart from,
to be honest, I don't really have concrete future plans. I'm sorry to disappoint, perhaps. I'm mostly working on Alarion now and getting that right and making sure that goes well, and we will take it from there. If doors open and more stuff comes my way, I will most certainly look into that. And I won't sit still. I mean, obviously, I'll keep my eyes and ears open. But at this moment in time, I don't really have anything concrete that I can tell you, unfortunately.
Yet projects keep spawning, literally spawning, right?
Absolutely, and I feel absolutely ridiculously blessed that I can, with minimal input or effort on my side of the story, to be able to be involved in so many unbelievable projects. That is just so lucky. I know so many people who work so very, very hard on a daily basis to be able to be a musician and to do what they love, and sometimes they just don't get nowhere, or they try so hard and they almost make it, or even if they do make it, it costs money, it costs time, and so much effort and blood, sweat and tears. And if I look at myself, I count myself so blessed to be able to just do all these wonderful projects without having to struggle every day to make that happen. So that is just unbelievably lucky.
True. Perhaps it's your approach.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I think things have been working all right for me.
Good things are coming to those who are patient enough to receive them, right?
Maybe that's it. Yeah, that's a nice way.
And there's another saying that actually says, that success is attracted by the persons that we become. So. Perhaps.
All right, that's nice. That's nice. Let's. I can live with that.
I would like to thank you so much for the interview, Irene. I really hope that I'll be able to have you again on the show for another project very soon, or whatever makes you happy, of course.
You are very welcome. Yes, of course. If there's something else that came my way and we can talk about it, I'll be happy to join you again.
Most definitely.
So I think it's an excellent opportunity to close this interview with Irene with the excellent Day 2 Isolation by Ayreon and the album The Human Equation.